This is not just a book about money. It's about systems, about design, about the art of engineering your life so that every ounce of effort compounds. Again and again, long after the work is done. Think about it. Great engineer knows energy cannot be wasted. You build a system once, and if it's good, it runs on its own. A bridge stands for decades. Circuit powers millions of devices. A line of code automates the impossible. So why shouldn't our lives work the same way? We live in a world where people chase work every day, repeating tasks, rebuilding from zero, reinventing the wheel. But the engineer's secret is different. It's about creating assets, systems, skills, and structures that continue to pay you back. You design once, you refine once, and then you let the system do its job. You're listening to do the work once, earn again and again. The engineer's secret to success. This is not a book about shortcuts or luck. It's about a deeper understanding. The science behind sustainable achievement, the mindset that transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary returns. Every engineer knows one truth: a system, once built right, working long after the builder rests. A bridge stands for decades, carrying countless travelers. A single line of code powers billions of devices. A well-designed circuit hums quietly through the years, never asking for attention, never demanding more labor than the day it was created. That's the essence of engineering: precision today for peace tomorrow. The question is, can life work the same way? Can your career, your habits, income, your success be designed like a system? The answer is yes, and that's what this journey is all about. We live in a world obsessed with doing more. More effort, more hours, more hustle. As if success were simply a matter of exhaustion. Engineers know better. They don't just do more, they design better. They take what others see as endless work and turn it into repeatable, automated, scalable structure. They don't chase results, they build systems that produce them. And that mindset, that quiet, logical discipline, is the secret to earning again and again from one act of focused creation. Imagine this. You're an engineer working on a new design. You spend days refining the blueprint, weeks perfecting the mechanics, months testing for flaws. It feels slow at first. Others around you are rushing ahead, producing faster results, earning quicker praise. But then your system is complete. You step back, switch it on, and it runs smoothly, efficiently, reliably. While others are still repeating their tasks, still chasing the next short-term win, your creation continues to deliver. That is the philosophy of doing the work once and earning again and again. It's not about avoiding work. It's about working with purpose. Not about laziness. It's about leverage. It's understanding that the most powerful form of effort is the one that compounds without constant attention. A tree doesn't need to be replanted every season. A well-built engine doesn't need daily rebuilding. When you invest time in structure, structure returns time to you. So let's apply that principle to life. What if you designed your habits like an engineer designs a machine? What if you created routines that triggered success automatically? Not through motivation, but through mechanism. What if you built a business that continued to generate income while you slept, or developed skills that multiplied your value long after you learned them? The difference between people who struggle and those who thrive isn't talent. It's systems. Systems produce predictability. Predictability produces peace. And peace, in the chaos of modern life, is the ultimate success. The truth is, most of us are trapped in what could be called the manual mode of life. Constantly working, constantly reacting, constantly restarting. But But an engineer would never accept that. They would ask, can this be automated? Can this be improved? Can this process sustain itself? That's the mindset you must learn to adopt, not just in technology, but in your time, your money, your relationships, personal growth. This book isn't written only for engineers. It's written for thinkers, creators, builders of any kind. You may be a designer, a teacher, a business owner, or a student. It doesn't matter. The engineer's secret is not in the profession. It's in the perspective, in how you approach problems. Most people react emotionally to challenges. Engineers, on the other hand, analyze, break down the complex into the simple. They search for patterns, test hypotheses, and use logic as their compass. When life throws uncertainty at them, panic, they iterate. They adjust the system and try again. And that's how progress is made. Not through luck, but through design. Now imagine a world where you live by that philosophy. Your income doesn't depend entirely on your daily presence. Your knowledge, once learned, keeps serving you. Your creativity, once expressed, keeps generating opportunities. That is leverage. The invisible force that allows one person to achieve the impact of many. And the beauty of leverage is that it multiplies across time. One decision, made with clarity today, can echo for years. One design, one book, one course, one product, one investment. Each is a system you build once, benefit from endlessly. Engineers think in terms of energy efficiency, how to get maximum output from minimum input. Apply that to your life, and everything changes. Instead of working harder, you begin to think strategically, how can I make this effort last? How can I turn this one project into a process? How can I design my time so that it continues to pay me back? That's the shift from worker to architect, from executor to designer, from effort to leverage. And here's the deeper truth. This mindset doesn't just build wealth, it builds freedom. Because freedom isn't the absence of work, it's the presence of choice. When your systems handle the repetitive, you are free to focus on the creative. When your designs earn for you, you are free to live for you. The engineer's secret isn't about creating machines. It's about creating mechanisms that sustain your best life. Whether it's automating your finances, refining your habits, or designing scalable income, the principle is the same: structure first, success second. And once you internalize that, you stop being reactive and start being deliberate. Stop seeing problems as walls and start seeing them as blueprints waiting to be drawn. So, as this journey begins, understand this: are not just a worker, you are an engineer of your future, your fortune, your freedom. Every decision is a design. Every action is a wire, a gear, a line of code in the architecture of your destiny. You don't need to start over every day. You need to start building once, properly, intelligently, so that your efforts multiply. Do the work once. Earn again and again. Because true success doesn't come from endless effort, it comes from well-engineered systems that keep giving back long after the work is done. Every great creation begins not with action, but with intention, with hands, but with a blueprint. Engineers know this better than anyone. Before a single bolt is turned, before a single circuit is connected, they build the design in their mind. They imagine the end result, calculate its purpose, test its integrity in theory before bringing it to life in form. The same rule applies to life itself. Before you chase success, you must define what success means to you. Without a blueprint, effort is wasted energy. You can work tirelessly, yet move in circles. But when you build with design, every action, no matter how small, fits perfectly into a greater plan. Think of your life as a structure waiting to be drawn. The foundation is your purpose. The walls are your principles. The roof is your vision of fulfillment. The mistake most people make is that they start building without knowing what they're building. They take jobs, start projects, make commitments, all without a clear design, and then wonder why it collapses under pressure. Engineers don't do that. They start with clarity. They understand the power of design before the weight of execution. You too must learn to design your life before you build it. Take a moment to ask yourself, what are you really building? Are you building a career that gives you freedom, or one that traps you in endless maintenance? Are you designing a life of growth, or are you patching up one of survival? A blueprint forces clarity. Clarity is power. When you know what the finished structure looks like, every decision becomes easier. You know what to say yes to and what to walk away from. That's how engineers work. They know the specifications before they pick up a tool. The same way, know the specifications of your life. What you value, what success looks like, what peace feels like. Without this design, you'll build something that might look impressive from the outside, but lacks internal strength. A system built without purpose eventually fails because there is no direction holding it together. In the world of engineering, precision is everything. A single degree off in alignment can cause an entire structure to collapse under its own weight. In life, imprecision in purpose does the same. You can spend years building toward a vague goal. Wealth, success, recognition. Only to realize you've built the wrong thing entirely. A blueprint is not just about what you want to create. It's about eliminating what doesn't belong. It's about removing the noise, cutting away distraction, and focusing only on what contributes to your design. This is the difference between motion and progress. People are in motion, busy, exhausted, always working. But only those with a clear blueprint make progress, because motion without direction is chaos. Engineers understand that every part of a design must serve a function. Every piece must connect to a purpose. You must hold your life to that same standard. Designing your blueprint is not about knowing every detail from the start, about having a guiding principle that gives shape to your actions. An engineer may not know every problem a project will face, but they know the goal, a bridge that holds, a structure that stands. Similarly, your goal might be a life of freedom, impact, stability, or legacy. Whatever it is, design your path toward it. Write it down. Sketch it out. See it before it exists. Because once you can see it clearly, build it intentionally. The power of vision is the power of creation. The mind builds what it can see. The clearer your vision, the more precise your actions become. And when your actions align with your vision, progress becomes inevitable. Now, let's talk about adaptability. Engineer knows that no design survives its first real-world test unchanged. The wind, the load, the material, they all challenge the design. That's where refinement happens. The same will happen in your life. Your blueprint will evolve as you grow. You might discover new possibilities, face new challenges, or outgrow old ambitions. The key is to keep refining your design without losing your foundation. Flexibility doesn't mean abandoning your blueprint, it means updating it intelligently. The core remains. The purpose, the vision, the direction, but the structure adapts. That's how you balance discipline and creativity. Too rigid, and you break under change. Too loose, lose your form. The perfect design is alive, evolving, adjusting, improving with each iteration. When you operate with a blueprint mindset, stop reacting and start creating. You stop chasing opportunities blindly and start evaluating whether they fit your design. Yes. You say either strengthens your structure or weakens it. Engineers never add components for the sake of addition, only what serves the system. The same goes for your commitments. Don't say yes out of fear or habit, say yes out of alignment. Protect your blueprint. It's not selfish. It's structural integrity. Because in the end, your life will only be as stable as the clarity of its design. And once you learn to live this way, decisions become peaceful. You'll know when something fits, and when it doesn't. You'll no longer feel torn between possibilities, because your design decides for you. So, as you move forward, remember this: masterpiece was once a blueprint. Every skyscraper, every invention, every success story began as a simple sketch. Lines on paper, guided by imagination and discipline. You have the same power. You can design your dream life with the same precision an engineer designs a bridge. You can define your own structure, your own measures of strength, stability, and beauty. The work of designing your life is not glamorous. It's quiet, reflective, intentional. But once your blueprint is drawn, everything else falls into place. You'll no longer feel lost in motion. You'll know exactly where you're going and why. The engineer's secret to success starts here. With design. When you build without a blueprint, you depend on luck. But when you design with clarity, you create inevitability. You don't just hope for success, you construct it. You don't just dream of freedom, you diagram it. Every goal, every habit, every decision is a line on the drawing of your destiny. Draw it with precision, build it with purpose. And when the world looks at your life one day, at the structure you've built through years of intelligent design, they'll call it success. But you'll know it's something deeper. It's engineering. The art of doing the work once, designing it right, and earning from it again and again, forever. Leverage, the quiet force behind every great creation, the invisible multiplier that allows small effort to create enormous impact. Engineers understand leverage better than anyone because it's the foundation of everything they build. A lever, in its simplest form, rigid bar that turns effort into advantage. Apply force at one end, and you lift something far heavier at the other. It's elegant, efficient, and timeless. And just like that physical lever, life is full of tools that multiply your output without multiplying your effort. The secret is learning to see them, design them, and use them with precision. Most people rely on brute force, more work, longer hours, endless repetition, believing that effort alone will lead to success. But the engineer knows that success doesn't come from the size of your effort, comes from the leverage behind it. One well-designed system can outperform 100 workers. One automated process can replace years of manual labor. One smart decision, made with leverage, can change a lifetime of outcomes. To do the work once and earn again and again, you must understand leverage not as a tool, but as a way of thinking. Think about the world's most powerful inventions. The printing press, the computer. Each one is a form of leverage. A single writer, once limited to the reach of their voice, could suddenly communicate with thousands, then millions. That's leverage. A single engineer who writes code once can impact billions of people who use their creation daily. That's leverage. When you create something that continues to work while you sleep, you are using leverage. When your idea, your design, your system keeps generating results without constant input, you've multiplied yourself beyond your physical limits. That is the difference between the worker and the builder, between the exhausted and the free. The worker asks, "How much can I do today?" The builder asks, "What can I build today that will continue to produce tomorrow?" The worker's power ends when their energy runs out. The builder's power compounds, growing stronger each day. Leverage begins with awareness, the ability to recognize where effort produces the highest return. Engineers never just add power to a system, they look for points of optimization. They ask, where can a small change produce a massive difference? That's what you must start doing in your life. Maybe it's automating a task that wastes your time. Maybe it's developing a skill that will pay dividends for decades. Maybe it's creating a product, a course, a design, a piece of software that continues to earn while you move on to other things. Each of these is a lever, something you build once and benefit from endlessly. The irony is that leverage often feels slow in the beginning. Building systems takes time. Learning a skill takes effort. Creating something scalable takes patience. But once it's built, it begins to accelerate. Less, yet gain more. That's the exponential curve of true leverage. Invisible at first, unstoppable later. Most people underestimate the compounding effect of leveraged effort. They see only the present cost, not the future gain. Engineers, however, in terms of scalability, they design systems that can grow without breaking. The bridge must hold not just one car, but thousands. Circuit must handle not just one signal, but millions. You must apply the same principle to your goals. Design for scale. Don't just plan for what you need today, plan for what your success will need tomorrow. If you build a small system, trap yourself in it when you grow. But if you build a scalable system, one that can expand, automate, adapt, you'll find yourself freer with each level of success. That's the paradox of leverage. The more intelligently you design, the less you have to do. There are 4 great levers in life: knowledge, tools, people, and capital. Knowledge leverage means that every new idea you master multiplies your decisions forever. You learn once. You earn from that understanding countless times. Leverage means using technology to amplify your abilities. From simple automation to artificial intelligence, one line of code can replace 1,000 repetitive actions. People leverage means collaboration. Surrounding yourself with those whose strengths complement your weaknesses. Great engineers don't do everything alone. They design systems where everyone's contribution multiplies. Capital leverage, the ability to make money work for you, is perhaps the ultimate form. You invest once, and the return continues to grow. But all of these forms of leverage start with one mindset: building for scale, not survival. Leverage also demands detachment from the illusion of control. Engineers design systems to work independently, knowing they can't stand over every bolt forever. You must do the same. Build trust in your processes, your designs, your automations. When you cling too tightly to manual control, you become your own bottleneck. True freedom comes from letting go, from designing something strong enough to function without you. When your work no longer depends entirely on your presence, you move from the world of labor to the world of leverage. You shift from doing to designing, and that's when life begins to compound in your favor. But remember, leverage can amplify both success and failure. Poorly designed system spreads chaos faster than a mistake repeated by hand. That's why the engineer's precision matters. Without control is danger. Build small, test carefully, then scale. The greatest systems, from bridges to businesses, were all tested in miniature before being expanded. In your life, test your ideas before scaling them. Automate one process. Create one digital product. Develop one system that saves you 1 hour a day, then multiply. Each small win becomes a model for the next. Before long, you'll have built an ecosystem that earns and grows without constant repair. Imagine the possibilities. You wake up to find your design still working, your system still earning, your creation still delivering value to others. That's the engineer's dream. To build something once that lives beyond the builder. Whether it's a product, a business, or a philosophy, leverage turns your effort into legacy. The bridge continues to stand long after its designer is gone. The code continues to run. The book continues to teach. The design continues to serve. That's the beauty of doing the work once. Not just for yourself, but for generations. So as you listen now, understand that leverage is not about working less, it's about working wisely. It's about building systems that magnify your effort and endure through time. The engineer's secret to success lies not in doing everything, but in designing mechanisms that do everything better. You can't outwork the world, but you can outdesign it. One act of intelligent creation, one system well built, can free you from a lifetime of repetition. That is the power of leverage. To do once, to earn forever, to build beyond yourself. Remember, this effort expires, but design endures. When you start thinking like an engineer, every task becomes an opportunity to multiply, and once you taste the freedom of true leverage, you'll never go back to living without it. Time, the one resource no engineer can recreate, one constant that humbles even the most brilliant designs. In the engineer's world, every system is built to manage time, to save it, optimize it, and use it efficiently. Yet in life, most people treat time as if it were infinite, spending it carelessly on tasks that repeat endlessly, days that blur together in cycles of routine. The truth is, time is not renewable, but systems are. And that's the secret engineers have mastered. They don't work harder with time. They work smarter through automation. To do the work once and earn again and again, you must learn to engineer your relationship with time. Every minute should have a purpose. Every repeated action should have a process. Every process should have automation. Because the real enemy of success isn't lack of opportunity. It's wasted time disguised as hard work. People think they're being productive because they're busy, but business without direction is a slow form of decay. The engineer doesn't accept that. They build systems that eliminate repetition, turning manual work into mechanical or digital processes. They build once, and the system handles the rest. That's how you win your time back. Imagine waking up every morning knowing that the most important parts of your life are already running on autopilot. Your finances, your learning, your health routines, your communication, even your creativity. That's not fantasy, that's design. Engineers call it optimization, making something run better with less effort. The same principle can be applied to your days. You can automate your savings, schedule your tasks, systemize your business, and structure your learning so that growth happens automatically. Think about the hundreds of small things you repeat daily: replying to emails, posting on social media, scheduling meetings, paying bills, remembering appointments, organizing files, making the same decisions again and again. These are not signs of responsibility, they are signs of inefficiency. Every time you repeat a task that could be automated, you're doing the work of a machine. And machines are cheaper, faster, and tireless. The engineer doesn't waste human energy on what machines can do better. You shouldn't either. Your goal should be to design your life in such a way that your time is spent only on what truly requires your unique human touch. Creativity, connection, ship, and design. The first step to reclaiming time is awareness. Most people don't even know where their hours go. The engineer measures before they modify. Start by observing your week like an engineer observes a process. Track how you spend your hours. Identify where you're repeating effort. If a task happens more than twice, systemize it. Create templates, checklists, scripts, or automations. Answer the same kind of message every week. Write a standard response. If you post content online, schedule it ahead of time. If you manage clients, build systems that onboard and update them automatically. Every system you build buys you back a slice of time. And each slice, when compounded, becomes freedom. The difference between a stressed professional and a liberated creator is not intelligence. It's systemization. The stressed one tries to hold everything in their mind. The engineer builds systems to hold it for them. The stressed one fights fires daily. Near designs fireproof structures. Engineers know that time efficiency is about removing friction. Friction is what slows systems down. Resistance, confusion, lack of clarity. In life, friction is wasted decisions, unclear priorities, disorganized routines. Every time you hesitate, search, second guess, friction consumes your time. The key is to design smooth pathways. Structured mornings, decided workflows, automatic triggers for action. For instance, instead of waking up and deciding what to do, have a pre-set morning routine that activates without thought. Instead of deciding what to eat daily, plan your meals weekly. Instead of wondering how to start your day, create a system that starts it for you. The fewer decisions you make, the more energy you conserve for creation and innovation. That's the principle of cognitive efficiency, another form of time engineering. Automation doesn't mean detachment, it means discipline. The engineer doesn't automate to escape work but to amplify it. By freeing their time from low-value tasks, focus on high-impact ones: invention, design, leadership, and learning. You can do the same. Automate the ordinary so you can invest in the extraordinary. Set reminders for bills, but spend your attention designing investments. Use a digital system to organize files, but spend your creativity writing, building, or innovating. Once you start building systems that run without you, your life begins to shift. You'll notice space. Space to think, to breathe, to grow. Space where stress used to live, and in that space, progress begins. But automation is only half the equation. The other half is rhythm. Engineers understand that systems need cycles, predictable patterns that repeat with precision. Your life needs rhythm too. Daily routines are not cages, they are circuits that keep energy flowing efficiently. A system without rhythm breaks down. So, routines that sustain you, not ones that exhaust you. A powerful morning system to ignite focus. A productive work system that protects deep thinking. A closing system that shuts your day down peacefully. The more rhythm you have, the less chaos you face. Chaos consumes time faster than anything. Rhythm preserves it. And yet, the greatest mistake people make when trying to master time is believing they must manage it. Time cannot be managed. Only your actions within it can. You can't stretch a day, but you can stretch what you achieve within it. The engineer knows this. They don't control time, they control flow. The way electricity flows through a circuit determines output. The way your actions flow through time determines results. Poorly designed flow leads to overload and burnout. Efficient flow leads to harmony and abundance. That's why time mastery is not about doing more, it's about structuring better. You build the system, and the system builds your success. One of the greatest insights of engineering is feedback. the loop that monitors performance and corrects inefficiency. You must build feedback loops into your life. Review your routines weekly. Ask yourself what's working, what's wasting time, could be automated next. Every improvement compounds. Before long, you'll find that your days are not filled with frantic activity, but purposeful flow. You'll achieve more in fewer hours because your systems are carrying the load. And that's the true meaning of doing the work once and earning again. Not just financially, but temporally. Every hour you save today will reward you every day thereafter. Engineers don't chase time, they design for it. They know that the only way to win against time is to build systems that outlast it. You can do the same. Build habits that generate results automatically, structures that protect your focus. Build automations that handle the predictable. Time, once lost, never returns. But systems once built, giving time back, so start building. Reclaim your hours, engineer your days. Because in the end, the measure of success isn't how much you worked. It's how wisely you used your time. The engineer's way is simple: do the work once, build the system well, and let time serve you instead of consuming you. That is how you master the one thing everyone else wastes. And that's how you truly earn again and again. Every structure, no matter how tall or magnificent, stands only as strong as the foundation beneath it. And in the architecture of success, that foundation is mindset. You can have all the strategies, tools, and systems in the world, but if your mindset is weak, your structure will eventually collapse under the weight of doubt, fear, and inconsistency. The engineer knows this deeply. They would never build on unstable ground, and neither should you. The engineer's mind is calm, analytical, grounded in logic. It doesn't panic when faced with challenges. It calculates, adapts, and redefines the problem until a solution appears. To live by the principle of, do the work once, earn again and again. You must build your life on this same mental foundation. It begins with one core truth: you are not a laborer of chance, you are a designer of outcomes. The difference between those who struggle endlessly and those who succeed sustainably is not just in talent or opportunity, in the structure of their thinking. The laborer reacts, the engineer designs. The laborer waits for motivation. The engineer builds systems that function even when motivation fades. And that is the essence of the mindset you must cultivate. To see your life not as chaos to endure, but as a system to engineer. An engineer's mindset is built on curiosity and control. Where most people see problems, they see blueprints waiting to be drawn. When something breaks, ask, why me? They ask, why did it fail? And, how can I make it better? This simple shift from emotional reaction to structural analysis changes everything, removes the drama and replaces it with data. It turns frustration into feedback. You begin to understand that every failure is simply a test, not of your worth, but of your design. If the bridge cracks, it's not personal, structural. Fix the structure, and the bridge stands stronger. Likewise, if a system in your life keeps failing, your finances, your relationships, discipline, it's not because you're broken. It's because your design is. And design can be changed. That's the freedom of the engineer's mind. It sees no permanent problems, only prototypes in progress. The engineer's mindset also values consistency over emotion. Emotion is unpredictable. It fluctuates with mood, weather, and circumstance. Systems, however, thrive on stability. The engineer doesn't wake up and ask, do I feel like working on the design today? They follow the plan because the system requires it. In your own life, this means replacing emotional decision making with structural discipline. You don't work out because you're motivated. You work out because your system says it's time. You don't save money because you feel inspired. You save because your financial system does it automatically. The goal is not to eliminate emotion, but to prevent it from steering the machine. Engineers respect emotion but don't let it drive design. That is how you create reliability in machines and in yourself. Another pillar of the engineer's mindset is continuous improvement. No engineer ever says, "It's perfect." They know perfection is a moving target. Every version can be optimized. The same principle applies to your habits, your systems, your beliefs. You're never finished, you're just iterating toward better efficiency. This mindset transforms how you handle success and failure alike. When you win, you analyze why it worked and reinforce the structure. When you lose, you analyze why it failed and adjust. Experience becomes data for refinement. This way, progress becomes inevitable because you're constantly learning. You're never truly starting over, you're simply upgrading your version. Like a well-designed machine, you become stronger, faster, and more efficient with every iteration. Is also understand the law of simplicity. Complex systems fail more often because complexity hides weakness. In life, simplicity is strength. The clearer your goals, the cleaner your processes, the more powerful your execution. Complexity is often a disguise for confusion. Extra features, extra noise, extra steps that don't add value. The engineer's mindset cuts through all that, reducing everything to essentials. What is the function? What is the outcome? What is the simplest path from input to result? Apply that to your work, and you'll notice a shift. You'll stop chasing distractions and start focusing on what moves the system forward. The simpler the system, the easier it is to maintain and scale. The same is true for your life. Simplify your goals, clarify your systems, and your growth will accelerate. The foundation of mindset is also built on accountability. Engineers take full responsibility for their designs. If something breaks, don't blame the weather or the materials, they examine their calculations. You must do the same. Take ownership of your results. When something in your life fails, resist the urge to find excuses. Instead, find the fault in the structure. This is not self-blame, it's self-engineering. You cannot fix what you refuse to own. The engineer's power lies in ownership, because ownership leads to control, and control leads to design. Once you understand that everything in your life is a system you designed, consciously or unconsciously, you gain the power to redesign it at will. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of the engineer's mindset is patience. Engineers don't rush the process because they understand the weight of precision. One small mistake early on can cause catastrophic failure later. They take time to measure, test, and adjust before they scale. You must bring that same patience to your journey. Growth is not instant, it's engineered. Cannot rush structural integrity. The foundation must be strong before the tower can rise. So, instead of seeking speed, seek accuracy. Build slowly, build well. Because once it's built, it stands for a lifetime. And finally, the engineer's mindset is driven by purpose. Structure has a reason to exist, a function to fulfill. Without purpose, even the most beautiful design is meaningless. Your purpose is your internal compass, the design specification of your life. It gives direction to your effort and meaning to your work. When you know your purpose, your systems align, your discipline strengthens, and your resilience doubles. You stop drifting and start designing. So remember this: before you build the systems, before you automate, Before you scale, you must pour the foundation. That foundation is the mindset of the engineer. Logical, curious, disciplined, patient, and purposeful. What separates those who survive from those who create? Once you have it, every problem becomes a puzzle, every failure becomes feedback, every success becomes a prototype for something greater. You will begin to see your life not as something happening to you, but as something being built by you, piece by piece, line by line, system by system, because mindset is not just the foundation of engineering, it is the foundation of everything. Build it strong, and everything that follows will stand firm. This is how you engineer not just success, but a life that sustains success, one that continues to earn, grow, and expand long after the work is done. In the grand architecture of achievement, knowledge is the raw material and learning is the process of refinement. An engineer's true power doesn't come merely from knowing formulas or tools, but from an unshakable commitment to continuous learning. A belief that every new challenge, every new failure, and every new innovation is a classroom waiting to be explored. Do the work once and earn again and again. You must understand that your greatest asset is not your product, your system, or even your time. It's your ability to learn, adapt, and apply knowledge faster and better than anyone else. Learning for the engineer, not an occasional act, it's a lifelong design principle. The world changes, technology evolves, and systems grow obsolete. But the mind that learns continuously remains relevant forever. That is the engineer's secret weapon, the capacity to evolve. Every blueprint, every structure, every solution is born from a mind that has trained itself to learn without end. When most people stop learning after school, the engineer is just getting started. Learning is not passive, it's active engineering of the mind. The engineer doesn't read just to collect information. They read to construct understanding. New idea is tested against existing knowledge like a component tested in a circuit. If it fits, it strengthens the system. If it conflicts, the engineer redesigns the system to accommodate new truths. That's how real learning happens. Through synthesis, not storage. Most people treat knowledge like data storage, filling their minds with facts they never use. The engineer, on the other hand, treats knowledge like code, something to be written, debugged, and executed for real-world results. Knowledge that isn't applied is just potential energy, and potential energy alone doesn't move machines or lives. To transform learning into power, you must implement it immediately, iterate it continuously, and measure its results. That is how learning compounds into wisdom through use. But the engineer also knows that learning isn't limited to textbooks or lectures. The world itself is a massive, living laboratory. Every problem, every conversation, every mistake carries a lesson if you're observant enough to catch it. The most successful engineers, and the most successful people in general, are not those who avoid failure but those who study it deeply. They ask, what went wrong? Why did it happen? What variable did I overlook? Then they modify their design and test again. This cycle of learning, testing, failing, and refining is the heartbeat of engineering, and it's the rhythm of mastery in any field. Most people fear failure because they think it's final. The engineer embraces failure because they know it's feedback. The only true failure is refusing to learn. To make learning a lifelong engine, you must also design your environment for it. Engineers build systems that make learning automatic. They subscribe to technical journals, follow innovators, take online courses, join communities, and engage with peers who challenge their thinking. They set aside time weekly, not when convenient, but by design. To study something new, you can do the same. Design your learning system like you would any engineering process. Define your objective, identify your inputs, set your frequency, and measure your output. For example, if your goal is to master financial systems, input might be books and courses, your frequency might be 1 hour daily, and your output is a portfolio that grows steadily. Learning becomes a structured habit, not a random event. Over time, this consistency compounds into exponential growth, much like how consistent small upgrades turn a simple prototype into a powerful machine. The engineer's approach to learning is also rooted in humility. No matter how much they know, they understand that knowledge is infinite and that ignorance is always greater. This humility keeps them open, curious, adaptable. The moment you believe you know enough, your growth stops, and your systems begin to decay. Humility fuels curiosity. Curiosity fuels innovation. When an engineer encounters something they don't understand, they don't hide from it. They dissect it, ask questions, seek mentors, experiment, and study until the unknown becomes known. That's how breakthroughs are born, not from genius, from relentless curiosity. The same principle applies to personal growth. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room, just need to be the most curious one. And yet, learning is not always easy. There are times when progress feels slow, concepts feel abstract, and frustration builds. In those moments, the engineer's patience becomes crucial. They understand that mastery requires repetition, that circuits are tested thousands of times before they perform flawlessly, and that understanding deepens through exposure and practice, not instant clarity. Learning is a process of layering. Each new insight builds upon the last until suddenly, what once seemed complex becomes simple. That moment of clarity, the click, is the reward for persistence. If you give up before the click, you forfeit your growth. So keep studying, keep practicing, and keep testing. Eventually, the chaos of information will align into the order of understanding. The engineer doesn't just learn for personal advancement, they learn for leverage. Knowledge becomes a tool to build systems that work independently, multiply results, and generate long-term rewards. For example, learning how to code might take months of effort, but once mastered, it allows you to create software that earns continuously. Learning how investments work might take study and experimentation, but once mastered, your money works for you. Learning communication and persuasion may take years, but once mastered, it influences teams, clients, opportunities for a lifetime. The engineer invests time in learning skills that produce continuous dividends. Skills that build systems, automate processes, and scale impact. That's the ultimate form of leveraging knowledge that multiplies itself through systems. Another key aspect of the engineer's learning system is documentation. They don't just learn, they capture their learning. Every project, experiment, every mistake is documented for future reference. This habit turns temporary experiences into permanent assets. You should do the same. Learning log, a place to record insights, patterns, and lessons. Over time, it becomes your personal encyclopedia of wisdom, customized to your life. The act of writing reinforces understanding, while the archive preserves it for reuse. This is another way to do the work once, earn again and again. By documenting lessons that continue to teach you and others long after the experience has passed. Finally, the engineer's learning philosophy is driven by one ultimate belief. Knowledge is meant to create, not just consume. The highest form of learning is teaching. When you can explain a concept simply, it means you truly understand it. So share what you learn. Give your peers your community. Teaching multiplies knowledge and deepens mastery. It transforms learning into legacy. At the end of the day, the engineer's goal is not just to know more, but to build more systems, innovations, solutions, and impact. The learning never stops, because the building never stops. Every book, every experience, every failure adds another brick to the structure of mastery. Commit to being a lifelong learner, an engineer of the mind. Keep refining, keep adapting, expanding your capacity to learn faster and apply deeper. Because in a world that's changing faster than ever, the one who learns continuously will not just survive, they will design the future itself. The machinery of success. Consistency is the motor that keeps everything running, silently and powerfully, day after day. Without consistency, even the most brilliant design will collapse under its own potential, because brilliance without execution is nothing more than unfulfilled promise. The engineer understands that consistency is not about intensity. It's about rhythm. Just as a machine functions through continuous cycles of operation, your life, your habits, and your systems must operate with steady, predictable precision. You cannot sprint your way to sustainability. You must build a process that moves you forward, one deliberate step at a time. Consistency, to the engineer, is not a feeling. It's a framework. It's the deliberate structuring of actions so that results become inevitable, not optional. You don't rely on motivation or luck. You rely on systems that make success the natural outcome of your routine. The difference between amateurs and masters lies here. Amateurs act when they feel like it, but masters act because their system demands it. The engineer knows that consistency compounds. Each repeated action adds to the last, like gears interlocking to multiply motion. The key is not to do everything perfectly once, but to do the right thing repeatedly until excellence becomes effortless. The myth of overnight success dies in the laboratory of consistency. Engineers don't build in a day, they build in iterations. Each version, each prototype, each test brings them closer to perfection. In your own journey, you must adopt this iterative discipline. The willingness to show up every day, make progress however small, and trust the process even when results seem invisible. Most people give up not because they're incapable, because they lose faith in the compound effect of small actions. They expect instant feedback, instant reward, instant validation. The engineer doesn't. They understand that every input has a lag time before output, that systems take time to stabilize and grow efficient. Consistency bridges that gap. It carries you through the silent seasons when the results haven't yet appeared, but the foundation is forming beneath the surface. Just as a bridge's strength lies in the alignment of its supports, your strength lies in the alignment of your daily efforts. Miss a support, the bridge weakens, skip your process, and your progress collapses. Consistency is not about perfection. It's about persistence. The engineer knows that even the best machines need maintenance, calibration, and recalibration. You will have days when the system falters, when motivation fades, when external pressures disrupt your flow. The secret is not to quit but to correct. The consistency mindset doesn't punish imperfection, it anticipates it and plans for recovery. If you miss a day, you don't surrender the system. You restart it the next morning, because the true power of consistency is in returning, not in never slipping. Every restart reinforces the circuit of discipline, strengthening your resilience and reducing the friction of beginning again. Engineer calls this process system recovery. You can call it self-discipline. Whatever the name, the principle is the same: break the chain completely. Keep the current flowing. To make consistency practical, the engineer designs for it. They remove dependency on mood and emotion by creating environments that trigger automatic action. If they need to test a machine daily, they schedule it, automate reminders, and create clear steps so the action happens with minimal friction. You must do the same in your life. Don't rely on willpower. Design for consistency. Place cues in your environment, automate your habits, build systems that make it harder to fail than to succeed. For example, if your goal is to write daily, your workspace ready and your writing app open. If your goal is to exercise, set your clothes out the night before. These simple structural cues turn discipline from a battle into a behavior. That's engineering psychology. Designing your surroundings to support your success. The engineer also understands the importance of measurement in maintaining consistency. What gets measured gets managed. Without data, there's no feedback. Without feedback, there's no improvement. To stay consistent, you must track your progress. Not to judge yourself, but to adjust your process. Engineers use metrics to ensure that systems operate within desired parameters. You can do the same for your goals. Track your habits, your progress. Numbers reveal patterns the mind overlooks. They tell you when to push harder, when to rest, when to adjust. Measurement keeps you honest, pickled and aligned. It transforms vague effort into tangible momentum. Over time, the data becomes your proof that consistency works, that each small action, repeated relentlessly, compounds into massive results. But consistency is more than habit. It's identity. The engineer doesn't just act consistent, they are consistent. Their work ethic is not a performance but a principle. To achieve that, you must shift from asking, "What should I do?" to declaring, "This is who I am." When consistency becomes identity, discipline becomes automatic. You don't struggle to keep your commitments, you live them. You don't fight for motivation, you operate from integrity. This internal transformation is the most powerful form of automation. Turning values into behaviors without constant decision-making. Become consistent by force, you become consistent by design. Designing your identity around your goals. Still, the greatest challenge to consistency is boredom. Repetition feels dull to those who crave constant excitement, but the engineer understands that mastery lives in monotony. Every great bridge, every powerful engine, technological marvel was born from thousands of repetitive tests, adjustments, and refinements. What looks boring to outsiders is brilliance in progress. The same is true for your dreams. The repetition that others avoid is the rhythm that will carry you to success. Learn to love the process more than the prize. The process is where strength and stability are built. Once you find peace in repetition, you've unlocked the secret that separates engineers from dreamers. The ability to stay steady while others chase distractions. Another truth the engineer knows: consistency demands energy management. You cannot sustain daily progress if you're constantly exhausted, distracted. Machines require fuel, so do you. This means prioritizing rest, recovery, and mental clarity. People burn out not from working too hard, but from working inconsistently. Sprinting, collapsing, restarting. True consistency requires pacing. The engineer balances efficiency with endurance, ensuring the system can sustain output over time. Likewise, you must build a rhythm that allows for longevity. A process you can maintain not for weeks, but for years, because success that cannot be sustained isn't success, it's a temporary illusion. Finally, The engineer's view of consistency extends beyond work. It's a philosophy for life. Consistency in learning keeps your mind sharp. Consistency in health keeps your body strong. Consistency in relationships builds trust. Consistency in integrity earns respect. Every area of life functions like a system, and consistency is the stabilizing force that keeps it from collapsing. Do the work once and earn again and again. You must make consistency your default operating mode. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It is unstoppable. Like a well-built machine, it keeps running, keeps producing, keeps advancing, even when no one is watching. Build your consistency as an engineer builds an engine, and piece by piece, test by test, adjustment by adjustment. Because in the end, consistency is not just the path to mastery, it is mastery itself. When your actions become predictable, your progress becomes unstoppable, success becomes inevitable. That's the engineer's truth. Steady motion always beats sudden speed. In every great engineering project, the bridge between imagination and execution is design. The blueprint that transforms vision into structure and chaos into clarity. Without design, the most brilliant idea collapses under confusion. With it, ordinary ideas become extraordinary realities. The engineer lives by one sacred rule: build before you design. In life, this principle is just as crucial. Most people rush to action, mistaking movement for progress. The engineer pauses to plan, to visualize, to simulate every variable before lifting a single tool. Because design is not delay, it's strategy. It's the act of building the future twice, once in the mind and once in the world. The first construction happens invisibly through thought, logic, and creativity. The second follows faithfully, built upon the clarity of the first. Do the work once and earn again and again. You must learn to think like a designer of systems, not reacting to problems as they come, but preemptively creating solutions that prevent them from ever appearing. The world rewards those who can build structures of efficiency, processes of precision, and designs of durability, and that begins not with effort, but with design. The engineer knows that a design is not merely a sketch, it's a philosophy of alignment. Every part of the system must serve a purpose. Nothing is random, nothing is wasted. This is how you must approach your goals, your habits, and your work. Ask yourself, the purpose of each action I take, does it connect to the larger structure of my vision? If not, it's clutter. In engineering, necessary parts introduce failure points. In life, unnecessary actions dilute focus. A great design removes friction by eliminating excess. Simplify your system, and efficiency follows. This is why engineers spend more time designing than building. Because clarity at the start saves time at the end. You must learn to love the blueprint stage, that quiet, deliberate moment before creation, where every choice you make determines the stability of the structure that follows. When your design is strong, execution becomes almost effortless. Simply follow the plan. To design your life like an engineer, begin with purpose as your foundation. Every design begins with why. Without it, no blueprint has direction, and no system has meaning. Your purpose is your project specification, the guiding intent behind everything you build. Once you define it, you can design every subsystem. Your career, finances, learning, health, and relationships. To align with it. This alignment creates harmony. Most people fail not because they lack effort, but because their design is inconsistent. They chase multiple goals that pull them in opposite directions. The engineer avoids that by integrating every subsystem into one cohesive model. If a process doesn't serve the main system, it's redesigned or removed. That's the discipline of alignment, ensuring that all your energy flows toward one unified outcome. But design is not rigid, it's dynamic. A good engineer anticipates change. They design systems with flexibility, adaptable frameworks that can evolve as new information appears. Do the same. Life changes, markets shift, technologies evolve, and opportunities move. If your design is too rigid, it breaks under pressure. Flexibility is not weakness, it's resilience. The best systems are those that can bend without breaking, absorb shocks, adjust flow without losing function. Design your plans with room for iteration, build feedback loops, review your systems regularly, just based on results. Just as engineers run simulations before deploying a structure, you can simulate choices mentally, testing possibilities, predicting outcomes, and refining your design before committing resources. The more you test, the stronger your real-world results. The engineer also understands that design is both art and science. It requires logic but also imagination. The logic ensures the structure stands, the imagination ensures it inspires. To design effectively, you must balance these forces, analytical precision with creative freedom. Too much logic, design becomes lifeless. Too much creativity, and it collapses without structure. The magic lies in merging both. Creativity to envision the impossible, and logic to make it real. This duality is what makes great engineers and great achievers unstoppable. They don't just dream, they design their dreams into systems that work. Design also teaches one of life's greatest lessons. Every outcome is the result of a design, whether intentional or accidental. If your life feels chaotic because you lack luck, it's because your design lacks structure. If your finances are unstable, your health neglected, or your time mismanaged, the cause is not fate, it's faulty design. The beauty of this truth is that once you accept it, you gain control. You can redesign anything. You can change the blueprint of your behavior, your business, your relationships. Nothing is permanent, only the design you follow. And because you are the designer, you have the power to rebuild. The engineer never blames the structure, they revise the design. You must adopt the same mindset, redesign until it works. Another key element of design is precision, the awareness that small details create massive differences. A single miscalculation in a bridge can lead to collapse. A small oversight in your system can waste months or years. The engineer checks, tests, calibrates. They know that precision is protection. Apply that precision to your work and your decisions. Don't rush through design. Measure twice. Take time to define your steps clearly. The clearer your path, the fewer your errors. But precision should not lead to paralysis. Perfectionism kills progress when it replaces purpose. The goal is not a flawless design, but a functional one. A system that works well enough to evolve, test, improve. That's the engineer's cycle. Design also involves energy flow. How inputs move through the system to create outputs. Life, energy takes the form of time, focus, and effort. Poor design leaks energy. Good design channels it efficiently. For leaks, distractions, inefficiencies, redundant tasks, and redesign them. Streamline your processes so your energy produces the maximum return. When you align design with efficiency, your productivity multiplies without additional effort. That's how engineers achieve more with less. Not through harder work, but through better design. Perhaps the most profound truth about design is that it precedes destiny. Every outcome you experience, good or bad, was once a design choice, conscious or not. You designed your routines, your environment, your priorities, and your habits, and they, in turn, designed your results. If you want a different outcome, you must redesign the system that creates it. This truth is empowering because it gives you full creative authority over your life. You are both the architect and the engineer, the designer and the builder. Your reality is not random. It's a reflection of your design. So before you act, design. Before you build, plan. Before you commit, simulate. Let your design be your compass, your system, your safety net. Spend more time in the blueprint phase than in the building phase. Think deeply, question assumptions, model outcomes, and visualize your end goal clearly. Because once your design is strong, execution becomes simple, almost mechanical. You'll no longer waste effort fixing problems that planning could have prevented. You'll no longer chase results that don't align with your vision. You'll be building by design, not by chance. That is the engineer's greatest secret. Success is never accidental. It's the product of intentional design, tested by iteration, refined by failure, and powered by persistence. Design your system once, and let that design work for you again and again, after the initial effort has passed. That is how engineers build empires, one blueprint at a time. In every great engineering achievement, from the first bridge built across a river to the latest spacecraft breaking Earth's orbit, element determines whether a design becomes reality: execution. Design may be the mind of success, but execution is its heartbeat. Without it, the most brilliant ideas remain trapped in theory, collecting dust in forgotten notebooks and clouded dreams. The engineer knows that action is not just about movement, it's about precision. Doing the right thing, in the right order, at the right time, doing it consistently until completion. Execution transforms imagination into innovation. It turns blueprints into buildings, plans into progress, dreams into systems that live and breathe in the real world. Yet, execution is where most people fail, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack discipline in following through. They chase perfection before they even begin, they overthink, they hesitate, and in hesitation, opportunity evaporates. The engineer never waits for the perfect moment, they create it. They act, test, adjust, and repeat. Do the work once and earn again and again. You must master the art of execution. Not reckless action, but engineered execution, built on clarity, structure, and unwavering momentum. The engineer's philosophy of execution begins with translation, the process of converting ideas into steps. Every big project is broken into components, and each component into tasks. Nothing is too large to act upon if it's divided properly. This is how complex bridges are built and massive software systems coded, not all at once, but piece by piece, day by day, with precision and persistence. You can apply the same principle to any ambition. Take your goal, deconstruct it, and assign action to every part. If you can define it, you can design it. If you can design it, you can execute it. The problem for most people is that they skip this translation step. They stay stuck between vision and reality because their goals are vague. The engineer doesn't say, build a bridge. They specify, calculate the span, choose the material, design the foundation, simulate the stress. Clarity creates motion, vagueness creates paralysis. So if you want to execute, define every step with engineering precision. But execution is not just about doing, it's about sequencing. The order of actions matters as much as the actions themselves. The engineer prioritizes based on dependency. One process must complete before another begins. This is why they follow flowcharts, project plans, flows. You should too. Every project, every business, every personal goal has a sequence that maximizes efficiency. identify the bottlenecks, eliminate unnecessary steps, and streamline the order. When you organize execution logically, progress becomes smooth, and momentum becomes natural. Most people burn out because they try to do everything at once. Engineers succeed because they build in sequence, from foundation to structure, structure to system, from system to stability. Another critical element of execution is iteration. The engineer never expects the first version to be flawless. They build, test, measure, and refine. That's why engineers progress while perfectionists procrastinate. The perfectionist waits for everything to be ideal before starting. The engineer knows that perfection is discovered through motion. Every prototype teaches. Every test reveals data. Every failure refines design. Execution is not final. It's cyclical. It evolves. You don't need to be right immediately. You just need to be willing to begin and improve continuously. This mindset frees you from the fear of imperfection and anchors you in the discipline of progress. Because progress, not perfection, true metric of mastery. The engineer also knows that execution requires feedback loops. No system can run efficiently without feedback. Sensors, monitors, and reports that detect performance and highlight problems. In life, feedback comes from results. You must measure what's working and what's not. Are your efforts producing returns? Is your system stable? Is your design efficient? Many people fail at execution because they act blindly, never pausing to analyze outcomes. The engineer, however, thrives on feedback. Every week, review performance metrics, compare them to expectations, and make data-driven decisions. You should adopt the same practice. Review your goals regularly, track your metrics, and refine your process. Feedback doesn't slow you down, keeps you aligned, but even with structure and feedback, execution still demands the rarest ingredient: discipline. The engineer doesn't depend on motivation because they know motivation is temporary. Instead, they depend on process. Once the process is set, work happens automatically. The engine doesn't run because it feels like it. It runs because the system is built to function. Likewise, your execution should not depend on how you feel. It should depend on the systems you've built. This is how habits become automation. You remove decision-making from the daily routine and let the system drive you forward. Discipline is not about force, about design. Creating processes that make the right actions the easiest actions. There is also an emotional intelligence to execution. Engineers remain calm under pressure because emotion clouds precision. When things go wrong, and they always do, the average person reacts. Engineer diagnoses. They don't panic, they analyze. They ask, what's the variable causing the fault? And fix it. Does not enter the circuit. To execute effectively, you must learn this composure. Separate emotion from process. When fear, frustration, doubt appear, return to data, logic, and structure. Execution thrives in clarity, and clarity dies in chaos. One of the most overlooked aspects of execution is timing. The engineer knows that every process has an optimal moment. Act too early, system fails. Act too late, and the opportunity decays. Timing is mastery. But timing isn't guessing, it's preparation meeting awareness. When you've designed your system well and remain alert, you can recognize the right moment and move decisively. This readiness gives you what others mistake for luck. In truth, it's engineered opportunity. And just as machines require maintenance, execution requires consistency in review. Engineers maintain systems daily, ensuring everything stays functional. In your own journey, maintenance means revisiting your goals, refreshing your strategies, and refining your habits. Many people fail not because they executed poorly, because they stopped maintaining what they built. Systems decay without attention, so does success. Keep your mechanisms clean, your habits sharp, focus calibrated. The final truth about execution is that it's not glamorous. It's gritty. It's not about grand gestures or instant wins, about daily commitment, silent progress, and invisible effort. The bridges, engines, and skyscrapers we admire are built not in bursts of brilliance, but in thousands of small, precise actions repeated consistently. Execution is the invisible labor behind visible success, and that's why few sustain it. Because it's repetitive, disciplined, and patient. Those who master it achieve what others only imagine. Execution is where thought becomes tangible, where theory becomes legacy. The engineer doesn't just dream of progress. They construct it, bolt by bolt, line by line, until the design stands in reality. You must approach your own life the same way. Execute your plans with relentless precision, patience, and faith in the process. Act daily, refine constantly, momentum carry you forward. Because ideas without execution fade, but executed ideas compound. They build systems, create value, generate returns again and again. Execution is not the end of the engineer's process, it is the eternal cycle that keeps everything alive. Build your systems, follow your design, and execute with purpose. The world rewards those who do, not those who dream. Execute once, let the results echo forever. In the grand architecture of achievement, comes a stage after design and execution that separates the engineer from the ordinary worker. The art of automation. Automation is not merely about machines, it is the deliberate act of creating systems that continue to function, produce, without constant manual effort. It's about engineering permanence into productivity. The principle of do the work once, again and again, lives and breathes inside automation. For an engineer, automation is the ultimate expression of intelligence. It is the moment when the mind's creation takes on a life of its own. A bridge that supports thousands of vehicles daily without constant rebuilding. A code that runs 1,000 processes while the creator sleeps. A manufacturing line that produces tirelessly. These are not accidents. They are engineered systems designed to multiply effort exponentially. The same way, you must learn to automate not just your tools, but your time, your money, your habits, and your decisions. Because the true power of an engineer is not in how hard they work, but in how effectively they remove themselves from the repetitive. The goal is not to work endlessly, it's to create systems that work endlessly for you. Automation begins with awareness, the ability to recognize patterns. The engineer studies repetition and inefficiency like a detective examines clues. Wherever the same task repeats, there lies an opportunity for automation. Repetition signals wasted human potential, and engineers are allergic to waste. Life you repeat far more than you realize. Daily routines, financial habits, communication methods, decisions that consume energy and time. One can be turned into a system. The key is to identify these loops, standardize them, and then delegate or digitize. That's how engineers free mental and physical bandwidth to focus on innovation. You cannot design the future if you are trapped doing the past over and over. Automation is the door to liberation. The freedom to think, to create, scale. The first step toward automation is systemization. Before anything can be automated, it must be defined. The engineer documents every process. What happens first? What happens next? What triggers what? You must do the same with your life and work. Write down your recurring tasks. Map your daily and monthly routines. What steps do you repeat in your projects, your finances, your communication, your learning? Once mapped, processes become blueprints ready for automation. You can then build systems around them. Digital tools, scripts, templates, or even simple checklists that ensure the process runs without manual thinking. The act of documentation transforms chaos into clarity. Once you've mapped a system, you can delegate it to a person, a program, or a process. The second step is delegation, assigning responsibility away from yourself. Engineers design machines not because they dislike work, because they value focus. They know their highest value lies in solving problems, not repeating solutions. You must apply the same principle. Outsource or delegate anything that doesn't require your creative mind. Whether it's through software, automation platforms, or human support, delegation is how you multiply output. The engineer's brilliance lies not in doing everything, but in designing everything so it gets done. You should aspire to reach a point where your systems operate even when you are absent. When your projects move forward, your business earns your full attention, and your habits maintain themselves because you built structures strong enough to sustain motion without supervision. That is the engineer's kind of freedom, effort detached from time. The third step in automation is digitization, the conversion of effort into code, systems, or mechanisms. Engineers automate through technology, using machines and algorithms to perform functions faster and more accurately than humans. You don't need to be a software developer to apply this mindset. In today's world, tools exist for almost everything: scheduling, investing, content creation, communication, and analysis. The modern engineer of success leverages technology as an extension of their intelligence. Use digital systems to schedule your calendar, track your finances, organize your projects, and maintain your learning. Automate savings, automate emails, automate reminders. Every automation, no matter how small, compounds into massive efficiency. The time you save becomes the fuel for creativity, innovation. But true automation goes beyond tools. It's about mental automation. The engineer doesn't make every decision from scratch. They rely on frameworks. Decision fatigue kills productivity, so they create mental systems that guide choices automatically. For example, when an engineer encounters a design flaw, they don't panic. They follow a troubleshooting process. Similarly, in life, you can create mental protocols: how to respond to stress, how to evaluate opportunities, how to prioritize tasks. These are automation frameworks for the mind. The more you can pre-decide, the freer your mind becomes for deep thinking. Decision systems are mental software. They run quietly in the background, preserving energy for creativity. Automation also applies to habits. Your daily routines are systems that determine your results. The engineer automates excellence through discipline, by designing habits that trigger positive actions automatically. Waking up early, reviewing goals, learning daily, managing time effectively. These are not acts of willpower but systems of automation. The beauty of habit automation is that once established, it removes effort. You act automatically in alignment with your goals. That is how engineers sustain high performance for decades. Not through endless motivation, but through engineered consistency. However, automation without oversight is dangerous. Engineers know that even the most elegant system can fail if it isn't monitored. That's why they build control loops, systems that track performance and correct errors automatically. You must do the same. Set review intervals for your systems. Evaluate whether your automated processes are still effective or need updates. Automation without reflection becomes stagnation. Systems evolve, they require calibration. What works today might fail tomorrow if ignored. Maintenance is the silent guardian of automation. Another hidden truth about automation is that it creates exponential growth through leverage. When you automate, you multiply your reach. A single system can serve thousands while requiring no additional energy from you. A video, a course, a digital product, a program. These are engineered assets. They represent the essence of doing the work once and earning again and again. Automation transforms your output into an asset that keeps giving, like a machine that prints value indefinitely. Every great engineer dreams of this, creating something that continues to serve long after they've stepped away. You should too, build things that outlast your effort. But automation also teaches humility. It reminds you that your goal is not to be irreplaceable, but to design systems that are. The engineer doesn't strive to be the cog in the wheel, they strive to design the wheel itself. The more your systems can operate without you, the more valuable your mind becomes. Because you've elevated yourself from operator to architect. That is the evolution automation demands, moving from doing to designing, from managing to monitoring, from reacting to optimizing. The most profound benefit of automation is freedom, the engineer's highest luxury. Freedom from repetitive work, from unnecessary decisions, constant stress. Automation grants space for creativity, rest, and vision. It allows you to focus on innovation instead of survival. Irony of automation is that it doesn't make you mechanical, it makes you more human. It restores your time, your energy, ability to think deeply. The very traits that machines cannot replicate. Automation is the bridge between effort and eternity. The mechanism through which your work continues to produce long after it's done, how the engineer leaves a legacy. The systems you build today will operate tomorrow, next year, and perhaps for generations. Automate is to multiply time, to bend it in your favor, to make effort infinite. So, as you design your path to success, remember this: work hard once, think forever. Build systems that serve beyond your presence. Let automation be your silent engineer, working faithfully behind the scenes while you create the future. That is how the wise engineer wins. By designing motion that never stops, systems that never sleep, and results that never fade. The greatest test of an engineer's work is not how brilliantly it starts, but how well it sustains. Sustainability, the ability of a system to endure, to operate efficiently over time without collapse or exhaustion, is the true measure of mastery. Life, business, and creation. Sustainability is the invisible architecture that supports longevity. Anyone can achieve success once, only the disciplined can maintain it. The world is filled with flashes of brilliance that fade quickly because they were not built to last. The engineer, however, builds with time in mind. They understand that the purpose of any great design is not instant performance, but perpetual reliability. Every bridge, engine, every circuit is designed not just to work, but to keep working. Through weather, pressure, and time. The same must be true for your ambitions. You must learn to build your systems, habits, and efforts with endurance engineered into their core, because the goal of doing the work once and earning again and again depends entirely on one principle: sustainability. Without it, the best systems eventually crumble under their own success. To engineer sustainability, one must first understand balance. Sustainability is not about working endlessly, it's about maintaining equilibrium between output and input, between effort and recovery, between ambition and awareness. Engineers know that every system has limits. thresholds beyond which performance declines and failure begins. A machine running at maximum capacity forever will eventually overheat and break. Likewise, you cannot operate your body, mind, or business at full throttle endlessly. Sustainability requires rhythm, periods of acceleration followed by recalibration. The engineer programs rest into the system because they know downtime is not waste, it's maintenance. Your energy, creativity, clarity are resources that must be renewed. True productivity is cyclical. Push, pause, progress. To sustain success, you must learn to preserve yourself as carefully as an engineer protects their design. The second element of sustainability is scalability. A sustainable system is one that grows without breaking. The engineer plans for expansion long before it happens. They design structures with capacity, extra load, bearing strength, flexible joints, modular components, so that growth doesn't cause failure. Apply this principle to your goals. Build systems that can expand as opportunities increase. Whether it's your career, finances, or business, your foundation is strong enough to handle more success. Most people fail not because they lack vision, because their systems were too small for their ambitions. They built for the present, not the future. Engineers, however, design for tomorrow, anticipate growth and prepare their systems accordingly. You must do the same. Ask yourself, can my habits handle higher demands, my processes scale without chaos? If not, redesign them now, before growth exposes their weaknesses. Sustainability also requires redundancy, the principle of having backups. Engineers never rely on a single point of failure. Every critical system has layers of protection, alternate power supplies, parallel circuits, duplicate servers. Redundancy ensures continuity when one part fails. In life, redundancy means diversification, multiple income streams, multiple skills, multiple sources of growth. When one area falters, another sustains you. This is how you build resilience. The engineer knows that no system, how perfect, is invincible. Failure is inevitable, survival is optional. To survive, you must have options. Redundancy is not inefficiency, insurance. It's how the wise engineer outlasts uncertainty. A sustainable system is also adaptive. Engineer knows that conditions change. Temperatures rise, materials age, technologies evolve. Systems that resist adaptation eventually decay. Sustainability, therefore, is not rigidity, it's flexibility. To sustain success, you must evolve with your environment. Update your methods, refresh your tools, and renew your mindset. What worked 5 years ago may fail today. The world rewards those who stay current. Treat change as part of the system rather than a threat to it. Engineers design with adaptability in mind. Adjustable mechanisms, reprogrammable software, modular structures. You must adopt the same fluidity in your pursuits. Learn continuously, pivot quickly, stay humble enough to change your approach. Adaptation is the oxygen of sustainability. Another foundation of sustainability is efficiency. Engineers worship efficiency because it conserves energy and minimizes waste. A sustainable system produces maximum output with minimal input. This principle applies directly to life and business. Efficiency means streamlining processes, automating the repetitive, and removing friction. It means focusing your time on what truly matters and discarding what doesn't. Sustainable success doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing less. Engineers simplify, not because they are lazy, but because simplicity sustains. Complexity consumes energy, simplicity preserves it. System feels heavy and chaotic, sustainability is impossible. Refine it until it flows effortlessly. Sustainability also thrives on feedback. Engineers install sensors, monitors, and data systems to ensure that performance remains consistent. Feedback tells them when pressure rises, when temperatures fluctuate, when something deviates from design. Without feedback, systems silently degrade until they fail. In your own life, feedback means awareness, tracking progress, reviewing habits, and listening to results. Measure what matters. Are your systems producing consistent returns? Are your habits yielding long-term results? Are you growing or simply maintaining? Feedback ensures sustainability through correction. It keeps you aligned, efficient, and aware. But there's a deeper level to sustainability: emotional endurance. Every engineer who has built something meaningful knows that sustaining progress is not just technical, it's psychological. The excitement of a new project fades, the novelty disappears, and what remains is repetition. Many people quit when the thrill vanishes because they mistake excitement for motivation. The engineer doesn't. They understand that consistency is not emotional, it's structural. They don't depend on inspiration to maintain effort, they depend on systems. When emotions fluctuate, systems sustain motion. That is why engineers finish what others abandon. You must learn the same resilience, the ability to act independently of feeling. When your passion cools, let your discipline continue. That's how you sustain greatness. A sustainable system is also ethical. The engineer designs not just for efficiency, but for integrity. Materials that last, processes that protect, and outcomes that serve others. Unethical systems eventually collapse because they destroy the environment that supports them. Likewise, in business or personal life, success harms others, it cannot endure. Sustainability requires harmony with your surroundings, with people, with nature, with society. The engineer's responsibility is to ensure that their creation benefits the ecosystem it exists within. So must yours. Build success that uplifts, pleats. That's the only kind that lasts. Finally, sustainability is about legacy. The engineer doesn't build for the moment, build for generations. The bridges they design today will serve strangers tomorrow. That is the essence of doing the work once and earning again and again. Your effort outliving your presence. Sustainability is immortality through design. The systems, habits, and structures you create should continue to serve others long after you step away. When you design for sustainability, continuity, a chain of value that never stops giving. Sustainability is the silent force behind every enduring success. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful. It's the reason some achievements fade while others last a lifetime. To sustain is to respect the future. Sustain is to honor your work by giving it permanence. So design your systems not just for efficiency, but for endurance. Build with foresight, maintain with discipline, adapt with intelligence, and operate with integrity. Let your systems breathe, evolve, and thrive without constant intervention. Because in the end, sustainability is the ultimate proof of mastery. It means you have not only created something functional, but something timeless. The engineer's true genius lies not in invention alone, but in endurance, in crafting systems that stand tall against time. Build once, sustain forever. That is how you win, not for a day, but for a lifetime. In the grand symphony of creation, after sustainability comes a deeper and more profound art: optimization. Optimization is where the engineer takes what already works and makes it extraordinary, where efficiency meets elegance, where small refinements create monumental results. It is the process of taking a functioning system and squeezing out every drop of potential, every ounce of performance, every hidden layer of value. The average worker believes that once something functions, the job is complete. Engineer knows that function is only the beginning. Optimization is the act of transforming good into great, great into exceptional, exceptional into legendary. It's not about doing more work. It's about refining the work so that every action produces maximum impact with minimal effort. This is where the real magic happens, where the law of diminishing returns is defeated by the power of intelligent design. Optimization is the soul of mastery. It's the stage where the engineer becomes an artist, sculpting precision, perfecting flow, polishing performance until it shines effortlessly. The philosophy of do the work once, earn again and again thrives most brilliantly in this phase because optimization ensures that every system you build produces greater and greater rewards over time with less and less input. Is the art of perpetual improvement, the engine of exponential success. Optimization begins with awareness. The engineer studies the system with the eyes of a detective and the patience of a craftsman. They don't ask, does it work? They ask, can it work better? That single shift in perspective transforms mediocrity into mastery. Optimization starts where complacency ends. In life and work, develop this mindset, the refusal to accept good enough, because good enough is the silent killer of greatness. The engineer measures, analyzes, and observes. Every inefficiency, every bottleneck, every friction point is an opportunity for improvement. Optimization is not random tweaking, data-driven refinement. The engineer collects feedback, identifies weak links, and strengthens them systematically. You must treat your habits, routines, and systems the same way, as machines of progress that can always be tuned, upgraded, and improved. When you approach life like an engineer, optimization becomes a lifestyle, a daily pursuit of better performance in everything you touch. The first principle of optimization is simplification. The engineer knows that complexity is the enemy of performance. The more complicated a system becomes, the more energy it consumes and the more likely it is to fail. Optimization often means removing, not adding. It's the art of subtraction, cutting away everything that doesn't contribute to the outcome. The best systems are not the ones packed with features, but the ones that do exactly what's needed with elegance and clarity. In your life, optimization begins when you start decluttering, removing unnecessary steps, distractions, and overthinking. Simplify your workflow, your communication, schedule your goals. Every unnecessary element you eliminate increases efficiency and focus. Remember, perfection is achieved not when there is nothing left to add, but when there is nothing left to remove. The second principle is automation refinement. Once a process is automated, the engineer doesn't stop there. They optimize the automation itself. They reduce processing time, eliminate redundant triggers, and enhance accuracy. You can apply this to your personal systems too. Review your routines and technologies regularly. Are your tools still serving you? Are your automations saving you time or creating new complexity? Optimization is about making your systems not just automatic, but intelligent. Use smarter tools, integrate systems, ensure that every automated process complements the rest. Harmony between systems creates flow, a state where work happens seamlessly and almost invisibly. Third principle is iteration, the cycle of constant testing and refinement. Engineers live by prototypes. Every version is a lesson. Wait for perfection to act. They perfect by acting. Optimization is the result of continuous iteration. Small, consistent improvements made over time. Each version of the system performs better than the last, Not because of massive overhauls, because of persistent tuning. You must embrace the same philosophy. Every week, every month, review your performance. What worked? What didn't? What can be improved by 1%? That 1% compounded daily creates monumental transformation. Optimization is less about revolution and more about evolution. A never-ending upward curve of progress. Another key to optimization is precision measurement. Engineers rely on data, not guesses, not emotions. They measure every parameter, every fluctuation, and analyze every output. They let evidence, not ego, guide improvement. To optimize your life, you must measure it. Track your time, your results, your progress. Identify where your energy goes and what returns it produces. Optimization begins with awareness of inefficiency. If you don't measure, you can't improve. The data tells the truth. It reveals what you're doing well and where you're leaking potential. When you start tracking metrics, whether in business, health, or learning, you empower yourself to make adjustments that matter. The engineer never flies blind, neither should you. Optimization also thrives on creativity. Data provides direction, but creativity provides breakthroughs. Greatest optimizations come from unconventional thinking, from asking, "What if?" questions that challenge assumptions. The engineer experiments, innovates, and finds new ways to improve old systems. In your journey, creativity is the tool that transforms incremental gains into quantum leaps. Don't be afraid to redesign, to test radical ideas, to rethink how things are done. Best optimizations often come from cross-disciplinary inspiration, borrowing methods from one field to enhance another. Be curious, explore widely, creativity guide refinement. Yet, optimization is not only technical, it's also emotional and mental. Engineer optimizes not just machines but mindset. They remove emotional noise, fear, frustration, and impatience. Because these disrupt performance, optimization means cultivating clarity, focus, and calm. It means managing energy, not just time. To operate sustainably at high performance, must optimize your mental state. Meditate, rest, think deeply, and protect your focus. The brain is your central processor, keep it tuned. The more balanced your mind, the sharper your execution. Optimization also requires humility, the willingness to accept that improvement is endless. The engineer never believes they have arrived. They know that every success hides a better version waiting to be discovered. Complacency kills optimization. The moment you stop questioning, your system begins to decay. Stay hungry for improvement. Celebrate progress, but never settle. Finished. Project is just the foundation for the next evolution. The engineer's mantra is simple: it can always be improved. Another hidden truth of optimization is compounding. Small improvements accumulate exponentially. A system that becomes 1% better each day becomes 37 times more effective in a year. The engineer understands this math intuitively. That progress doesn't need to be dramatic to be transformative. Apply this same compounding principle to any part of your life. Make tiny adjustments consistently. Improve your skill, your focus, your health, business, and the results will multiply far beyond imagination. The power of optimization is the power of momentum, small, continuous upgrades that create unstoppable growth. Finally, optimization leads to mastery, the state where the system runs so smoothly that it feels effortless. Mastery is not magic, the result of relentless refinement. The engineer reaches mastery when the design, the execution, and the automation merge into seamless harmony. Can reach this point in your work, your habits, and your purpose. When your systems are optimized, life flows. You no longer chase results, follow naturally. Optimization transforms chaos into clarity, effort into ease, and time into timelessness. The stage where success no longer feels like struggle, it feels like rhythm. Optimization is the bridge between sustainability and greatness. It's the process that turns the ordinary into the extraordinary, that multiplies the returns of every effort you've ever made. How engineers and visionaries continue to grow long after others plateau. So, never stop improving what works. Refine it, polish it, perfect it. Seek elegance in efficiency and beauty in precision. Because optimization is not just about better performance, it's about becoming a better creator, a better thinker, a better engineer of your own destiny. When you master optimization, your systems won't just survive. They'll soar. That is how you truly do the work once and earn again and again forever. Every engineer knows that no system, no structure, no creation exists in isolation. Everything is connected to something larger. This is where the true beauty of engineering meets the philosophy of success. In the understanding and harnessing of leverage, leverage is the invisible force that multiplies output without multiplying effort. It is the secret bridge between limited effort and unlimited results. Its simplest form, leverage, means getting more from less. Achieving 10 times the result with the same energy, or achieving the same result with 1/10 of the effort. Physical world, leverage is what allows a small force applied to one end of a lever to lift an object many times its weight. In the world of success, principle remains identical. The person who understands leverage works smarter, not harder. They design systems, relationships, technologies, networks that magnify their impact. The unleveraged worker digs with their hands. The leveraged engineer builds a machine that digs for them, endlessly, efficiently, tirelessly. This is the ultimate essence of do the work once, earn again and again. Leverage transforms one-time effort into ongoing gain, the force multiplier of success, and mastering it separates those who struggle from those who soar. Leverage exists in many forms: intellectual, technological, financial, social, and even emotional. Intellectual leverage is when your knowledge, ideas, or creations work on your behalf. A book written once that sells for decades, a piece of code that runs billions of times, or an idea that reshapes industries. These are examples of intellectual leverage. The ability to create something once that continues to produce value endlessly. The engineer's blueprint, the designer's invention, the creator's innovation. Each is a form of stored energy that works long after its maker has moved on. When you build systems or intellectual property that compound without requiring your constant involvement, you begin to experience the freedom that only leverage can provide. Technological leverage is the next frontier. Machines, automation, and software are the modern extensions of human will. The engineer uses code, circuits, and algorithms as levers to amplify creativity and productivity. Technology allows one person to do the work of hundreds, to manage data, decisions, and designs at scale. The key is not just to use technology, but to make it serve your unique purpose. To design tools that extend your capability beyond the limits of human effort. Financial leverage, on the other hand, is the art of making money work for you instead of you working for money. The engineer's mindset applies here too. Systems that deploy capital intelligently, creating streams of income that flow even when you sleep. Investing in assets, businesses, or ideas that yield recurring returns is simply applying engineering logic to finance. You construct an engine, powered by capital, that generates wealth autonomously. But leverage is not just about machines and money, also about people. Social leverage comes from building strong networks, communities, and partnerships that multiply your reach. The engineer who collaborates grows faster than the one who works alone. Human relationships, when aligned by trust and shared vision, act as amplifiers of possibility. Every great project, invention, or enterprise was not the result of one person but a team, each individual adding their unique lever to the collective system. Learn to see people not as tools, but as collaborators who bring new forms of leverage, skills, insights, access, and energy that expand what you can accomplish. Even emotional and psychological leverage exists, the ability to control your mindset and emotions so that they work for you, not against you. Discipline, clarity, focus are powerful internal levers. They turn chaos into control, anxiety into action, hesitation into momentum. When your emotions are aligned with your goals, they become the wind behind your sails, instead of the waves against your ship. The most successful engineers of life learn to use these invisible forces, belief, vision, confidence, as multipliers of effort. With emotional leverage, a single act of will can rewrite your trajectory. To harness leverage effectively, you must begin by changing how you see work itself. Traditional thinking equates time with output. The idea that the more hours you put in, the more results you get. But the leveraged thinker knows that time is only one input among many. The true game is not about hours but about systems, finding ways to make your time and actions produce disproportionate results. Ask yourself, how can I create something once that continues to produce value without my ongoing involvement? That question is the root of every leveraged system in history. From the printing press to the internet, from manufacturing lines to digital content, the person who learns to create repeatable value through systems achieves what others can only dream of. Exponential impact. Leverage requires design thinking. You must look at every process, every task, and every goal as an opportunity to build a lever. What tool, method, or collaboration could multiply this effort? The engineer dissects systems to identify points of maximum leverage, those small actions or components that produce the biggest difference. Sometimes, leverage means building a platform. Other times, it means delegating to those whose expertise amplifies your own. Might even mean saying no, focusing your energy only where the returns are greatest. In this sense, leverage is not just a tool but a philosophy. It demands that you value your energy as a finite resource and deploy it only where it can be multiplied. However, leverage must be built on a foundation of integrity and purpose. Power without ethics is a collapsing structure. Best kind of leverage creates mutual benefit. It uplifts others while elevating you. Engineers understand this inherently. A system designed for imbalance eventually fails. In life and business, sustainable leverage means creating systems that provide value for everyone involved. Customers, collaborators, communities. When your leverage creates shared prosperity, it grows without resistance. When it exploits, it collapses under the weight of resentment. Always build levers that serve humanity, not just yourself. That is how your systems will endure. Paradox of leverage is that it often requires more work up front. More design, more thought, more patience. Building a machine takes longer than using a shovel, but once it's built, the machine does the digging forever. This is the heart of the philosophy. Work once, earn again and again. Leverage rewards those who invest deeply in building foundations. It tests patience and vision. Many people quit before their lever is finished, never realizing how close they were to exponential growth. The engineer perseveres, knowing that once the system is complete, it will run indefinitely. In modern life, digital leverage has become the ultimate equalizer. The internet has turned ideas into infinite multipliers. One person, with one message, can reach millions. One engineer, with one design, can power the world. Digital realm is pure leverage, automation, scalability, and network effects converging into limitless opportunity. The only limitation is imagination. Ignore this reality is to reject the greatest lever of our era. Those who learn to build digital assets, code, content, communities, or businesses, are the new engineers of abundance. But perhaps the most profound form of leverage is legacy. The knowledge, systems, wisdom you leave behind can outlive you and continue producing value for generations. When you mentor others, teach your craft, or build systems that others can use, you are creating infinite leverage. Work that continues long after your hands are gone. Legacy is the purest form of doing the work once and earning again and again. Not just in wealth but in impact. It is the engineer's ultimate masterpiece. A design that transcends time. Leverage is not a trick or shortcut. It's an understanding of universal law. It's how the smallest seed grows into a forest, how the faintest spark ignites a star, how one mind can move the world. When you master leverage, you no longer measure success by effort but by effect. You realize that a single action, when designed correctly, can create infinite ripples. The engineer's secret is simple yet profound. Stop pushing harder and start building smarter. Because with the right lever, move anything, even your destiny. At the heart of every great engineering triumph lies one invisible element: resilience. Systems fail